Okay, I think we're live. I don't know, I've been trying to set this up for like all of yesterday and then this morning and just trying to get everything to work. I don't know how to set everything up properly yet, or like how to go about it. Right now it says that the connection isn't great, which I don't know if that is. I've tried to create this like portable setup for streaming, and I may need like an actual proper Ethernet cable to be able to stream. So let me know in the comments if this is like, if it's too delayed or if there's any sort of like issues that you see, because this is going to be like a test round and then I will have to like iterate on this and try to make it better. Also the music, I don't know if the music is too loud for me speaking. I can see that you guys are active. I have basically set up the chat on my phone. I'm trying to keep this as portable as I can so that it will make it, it will kind of give me less friction when it comes to coding and live streaming it. And so I'll take a picture of this and post it to my Instagram so you can see the setup that I've got, which isn't super portable at this point. But either way, we're gonna try this again. And yeah, yesterday I did a test stream. I think I didn't really realize that people would watch it, which maybe doesn't make sense, but then I woke up today and I saw like a lot of people had watched that live stream, which was basically just a still image. So I can see the confusion, especially since I titled it the same thing that I titled this stream. But yeah, it seems like you guys think the sound is good and the video is good and the music is good, so that's good. And my thinking here is that I've been coding this app and I've been coding lots of different projects, and it's kind of difficult to code on a project, document that process, and also make videos about that process at the same time. So I'm kind of struggling between the fact that, like, if you think about the last video that I did, that I posted on Friday, that took me something like 50 hours to edit. And a normal video, if I code for one day and I film like, say, 6 hours of coding and a couple other things throughout my day, and then I edit that the next day, it takes me about like anywhere from 12 hours to 20 hours to edit that video, which means that I can't code every single day of the week. I have to code like one day, edit and kind of do all that stuff for almost 2 days. And then I have to code for one day and then code or edit and film and do extra stuff for 2 days. So that whole thing means that I can't make as much progress as I want on the things that I'm building, and progress is kind of slow. So I'm thinking that maybe if I live stream it, I can at least be a little bit more frequent on YouTube, and you can follow the process of me actually building these apps out, and I can make more progress on it as well. And then I can maybe use these live streams to or use the footage from these live streams to create kind of recap videos or summarized videos. But it depends. We'll see if this is a good idea or not. Seems like you guys are really active in the chat though. And I'm so like not used to streaming or watching streamers, so I don't know how to do this well. So this is going to be a practice thing for me too. But yeah, it seems like we have people from all over the world actually watching this. So that's great. But that's a little bit of my thinking behind why I'm live streaming at this time. And let me know if you have any questions or anything that you want to know, and I'll try to answer it as I go along today. But now we're going to do I don't know, maybe 4-hour session. I have to leave at 4:30 and it's 12:45 right now. So I'm thinking I'll live stream my coding until 4:30. Flutter or React Native? I do Flutter. I don't know, I've never tried React Native, so that might be better, but I haven't tried it, so I don't know. Let's see. So I think we have an error straight away, but we'll see. What tool chain? I haven't looked into tool chains or like what that even means, so let me know what that question means. Okay. So, and also let me know if this size, if you can actually read the code here, because I'm thinking that would be a good thing if you want to watch me code as I build this project out. It would probably be nice if you can read what the code says. Would you be keen to set up a Discord channel for this? I think I could do that for sure. I think I have a Discord channel. I don't know how active it is right now, but I can definitely set something up like that for this. Okay, it's readable, that's good. So listen for time entry changes. Apparently that does not exist. So database helper. So now it was a while ago since I was coding on this. I don't really remember where I was or what I was doing. Okay, time entry subscription, where are we? Entry widget.dart, entry subscription, time entries. Okay, so I don't think I have that function. I think I stopped in the middle of like building something, so I don't think I have the time entry. Yeah, I don't have the time entry thing. Okay, so I need to first of all figure out what was I doing last time. Time entry subscription, time entry page. Okay, so time entry page, just let's see where that is. Time entry page, expand child. Time tracking widget. Stream subscription, list of time entries. Oh, okay, I think I know what I was doing. When a change occurs, add a new event to refresh the time entries. Okay, so I think what I was working on was the fact that like if I add a new task here, let's try it. And type in task, and then project is project 2, let's say, and then hashtag da da da. And you start and then stop. And it doesn't update dynamically, I don't know what you call it, but it doesn't update once I've added a new task here. So that's what I was working on, I think. So I think I'm trying to add here some sort of subscription thing so that we can get live updates if I change something. So in the database helper, we want to have some sort of streamable thing that just updates as soon as a new thing is added, instead of doing it the way that it does it right now. Because I think the way that I do it now is if I go back now, okay, no, but if we do this and then we do that, yeah. So now we have the third thing. So we have to like exit out of the app and then go back into it to get it to update. But why have I chosen to use the database helper for this? Time entry says listen for time entry changes. Why is that in the database helper? I'm not sure. Is the list in a hot reload form? I don't know if it's in a hot reload form. I'm unsure of like where this was supposed to be used. The time entry subscription. This is why it's not good when you stop in the middle of building something. So the thing is, the database helper is this class, and in this class we have delete table, read all projects, read all tasks, read all tags, which I don't know if this would be the right place for a listener function as well. Future list, final list, list.generate map, time entry.from map, database.query. Maybe it is the right place. Let's see. Okay, let's see if we can use this. Database helper. Okay. Cal, do you have a college degree or similar? I have a 1.5 bachelor's. Stream controller, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So now we should add the listing. Listen for time entry changes. If we do that, then I think we shouldn't have any errors at least, and then we can try to run this and just see what happens. Are you a self-taught programmer or did you learn in college? So the 1.5 degrees of a bachelor's that I have is basically, it's one full bachelor's degree in exercise science, and then it's half a degree in software engineering and management. So I basically learned most of what I know about programming in that bachelor's degree, even though I didn't finish it. All right, it seems like it works. At least we can run the app. controller.stream. Okay, so now we need to probably fix future void fetch and add to stream. Oh wait, Okay, I'm just gonna copy this stuff and see what happens if we add it into the code, which is always a good thing. It's always the way that you should do it. Just copy code from someone else and add it in and see if it works. Or cross your fingers, hoping that it will work. Okay, time entries. What is my name for? Okay, it is time entries. Perfect. Okay, let's see, do we need the other stuff that they have? Insert time entry, we don't need that. Update time entry, we don't need that. Delete time entry, we don't need that. Okay, wait. Usage in widget, time entry subscription, when exchange content.read, blah. Time entry subscription.cancel. Okay. That's good, we have that working, I think. And then we'll say here, time entry subscription. Now we have to figure out where do we use the time entry subscription. No time entries available, so somewhere here. Time entries equals, okay. Now again, let's allow ChatGPT to help us. For the time entry. You need to ensure that block is providing the stream of states correctly in stream. Wait, I think I asked the wrong question, maybe? Are there any good work opportunities in Sweden? I think so, I don't know. I am not currently looking for jobs here in Sweden, but I do believe that there's lots of jobs, especially for programmers. It seems like there's always jobs for programmers. Do you only work with Flutter, or are your projects use some other languages? I use Python sometimes, and I've used Java as well. But mostly actually Python, I think, and then Flutter anytime I'm building an app, or Dart, really. Let's see if ChatGPT did what we wanted. Background blast, scene builder, okay. Connection, waiting, snapshot. Time entries, snapshot. I feel like we should be using... Don't we need to like use this thing somewhere? Maybe we don't. Let's see what they write too. To change your widget and avoid multiple cause effect, you need to manage the subscription and data fetching logic separately. This involves setting up the subscription in the init state method and disposing of it in the dispose method. So setting it up in the subscription method, init state, which we do, I think. Yeah, init state. And then disposing of it in the dispose method, which I don't think we do, but I don't know if that's necessarily important for it to work. I think that's just for it to make sure that it doesn't stay open or stay streaming when we go to other pages, maybe. How did you start with programming? Always had an interest, or did it become an interest later on in your life? It was not always an interest. I've never actually done anything remotely related to programming until I think it was 2018, maybe, when I was like super non-technical and didn't understand almost how to use like PowerPoint. And then I just had this idea for an app and I wanted to build it. And so I was like, oh, well, maybe I could learn how to do that. And I downloaded, I remember this so clearly, like I downloaded, what's it called? I don't even remember what the iOS Xcode, I downloaded Xcode, and as soon as I opened it up, I was like so intimidated by the fact that like I didn't feel like I could touch anything, like anything that, all the options that were available, or the little buttons and things that you could do. I just felt like it was super overwhelming and I didn't know what to do. So, and then I started watching this guy called, what was his name? It's like Let's Code or something. YouTube. Let's build that app. I started watching him, and he basically, he had so many different apps that he was building. And so the app that I had in my head, I was basically looking through his videos and picking out parts of the videos where he was building something that was like similar to what I wanted to build, and then I copied that piece of code and just pasted it into my code somewhere without even knowing like how brackets work in programming or anything like that. So it would break like all the time and I would get errors that I didn't know what to do with. And I did almost get like a full app built doing it that way without understanding a for loop, without understanding variables or anything like that. Just basically copying what he was doing. And then I just realized that it was kind of fun, and I started Googling, and I saw that, well, you can actually make some money as a programmer, which I didn't even know. I didn't know that like IT was a well-paying profession, which kind of goes to show how little I knew about programming before I started. And then I applied for a university degree or course in software engineering, and that's basically how I got into it. Okay. Okay, so now let's remember. My capacity to like read the chat, answer something, and also continue focusing on what I'm doing here is very low. So, but I think it's good. I think it's a good way for me to practice this. Test, test, and then just go at project. Okay, start, stop, pull it down. Okay, it doesn't update. And that, I think, is because we need to change something here. Listen for time entry changes. When a change occurs. Okay. So we're gonna have to start printing stuff now. Print hello one. Okay, so hello one does work here. Okay, and then at test, start the task, stop the task, pull that down, nothing happens. So when we press stop, something should happen, I think. When we press stop, this should happen. So the laptop that I'm using right now is the MacBook 13-inch M1 from 2020, I think. And here are the specs. Maybe, yeah, 16 gigabytes of RAM. And yeah, this is the laptop. Okay, so for some reason, we need this to be like streaming constantly. So basically what I would want is for it to be printing hello one here, like every so often. I think that's what I want at least, I don't know. But I think that what we want is for this listen for time entry changes. I think we want that to be running constantly almost in the background to just check if a new time entry has been added, and if so, then it should update the UI. Time entry controller. Okay, I'm just gonna do a Hail Mary and I'm gonna copy this. And I'm gonna see if I paste it in, just see if there is something, because I can't be bothered really looking through the whole thing and finding where if anywhere, it changed something. Okay, and then run. Not sure what this is. Okay. Test 2. Can someone remember that I wrote test 2 and test 2? Start, stop. Okay, so nothing really changes. Did you consider switching to React Native for developing mobile apps? I did actually, because I saw this thing, I don't know, there was something about layoffs at Google for the Flutter team. So I got a bit like, well, if I spend a lot of time building an app in Flutter and then they decide to like scrap the whole project, then that wouldn't be great. And I would kind of, yeah, it would really suck if that happened. But I don't know, I read something else somewhere else that kind of made me feel like they're probably not going to scrap it. There was some relatively big app that just recently decided to move their entire code base over to Flutter. And it was one of those apps, from what I remember, I could be wrong about this, but from what I remember, my takeaway was that if this app moves over to Flutter, it probably isn't going to be scrapped, but that's why. And right now I'm so invested in Flutter as well, like understanding, from what I understand, React Native, you have to understand or like know how to work with CSS. It's more like web development, and I've never done web development properly. So I don't understand like HTML, that structure. I understand some relative basics of it, but not enough to be like efficient building an app with it. And CSS, I don't understand how that kind of, how those two work together, and I haven't used it for a long time. So to me, the initial investment to understand React Native and just to be able to kind of become somewhat efficient with it would just be too much. And so as long as there's not like imminent danger coming for the Flutter thing, then I'm going to stick to Flutter. Okay, so I'm trying to basically stream from my SQL database onto the screen of the app, so that as soon as we add a new thing, a new project here, it should automatically get added into this list without us having to move to a different page and move back, or without us having to, like we right now have to, reload the entire app. Because if I reload the app, then, oh, okay. Just found a bug as well, I guess. So, actually, let's see. Because what I think, because as you can tell right now, there's 3 projects here called project test 2, test 2, test 2. So it's 3 of those. And I just added one of them. So if I add task in capital letters, actually as a project, and then I start, and then I stop, and then we try to rerun it. I just want to see what happens. Okay, so it just adds one task when I do that. Okay, I'm all over the place right now, but task 1. I think if I do that, and if I stop it once, and if I stop it again, so now I've stopped it 2 times, I think what will happen is it will add 2 entries in the database. Yeah. So that's not good. But that's a different bug. Let's not focus on that right now. Let's focus on just updating the UI as soon as we press stop. There, as soon as... Okay. So I feel like we need to use this somewhere. Because right now we set up this thing that's listening for time entries, but we don't use it. We use it only when we initialize the whole thing, but never stream subscription. Okay, so if I copy all of this and I give it to ChatGPT, so okay, so from what I can tell, it basically just did what we already have. So this code, I think, is pretty much equal to this code. If you click the icon at the top of the bar of your application, it shows every database entry. Can't you just add the same logic to the stop function, fetch the database contents as soon as you hit stop? If you click the icon at the top bar of your application, oh yeah, I could add the function to the stop so that when I stop the time entry, it basically updates the UI. That is a way to do it, but it's not the way that I would want it to be done. Now it's not super important because this is just I don't know, sometimes I struggle with the difference between like what is worth focusing on for just like a beta version of an app or like a really simple app that you can just use, that you can just get the MVP up basically, for what is worth focusing on for that, and what is worth kind of, what are kind of bugs that are worth keeping in the app. Because there's sometimes you just need to get a working version of the app, just the base functionality of it down, so that you have the MVP, and then you can kind of iterate on that and make it better and better. Which is like one of the things to make it better would be to change this to be streamable so that it just updates automatically and you don't have to press anything for it to update. But at the same time, right now, since it is just an MVP that I'm building, it could make sense to have, just for the sake of being a little bit faster, it could make sense to just add the functionality to the stop button where it updates the UI. I guess that could make sense. So now I just need to find where the stop time section is. This what I named it? No. Time tracker widgets. I think this is the one. Okay, so this is basically this thing that I'm looking at right now. And I'm trying to figure out where the stop button is, and then I'm gonna make it so that when the stop button is pressed, let's say stop time entry, here we go. Okay, and this is also where the bug is. So we're gonna add a to-do so I can just search for this to-do later on. So to-do, fix the bug where when you stop button twice, it adds another entry in the database. Okay, and now here somewhere we can add a functionality that just updates the UI, I think, but at the same time this is like a different page and we need to then we need to then update this page somehow. Hello one. Okay, so I think the best way would be to just have it be streamable somehow. Okay. Are there global variables in Flutter such as Python? Yes, you can definitely use global variables in Flutter as well. Okay, static final internal. Okay, so block. Fetch time entries. Time entry. So now I need to figure out, can I change this somehow for this? And I think maybe I can. Look right at context. Okay, actually let's go to the time entry block. I'm not really sure. It feels like I don't necessarily need to do all the stuff that ChatGPT does. Ensure that your database helper can emit a stream of changes. I feel like this is what we need to do. It really should be something like this. Like the stream should be this stream and not this thing. Because right now I feel like we don't use this actual thing here. Let's copy all of it and see if ChatGPT can help us. Okay. I'm so lost with this, I just like forget what I'm about to do. Okay, so I want to ask ChatGPT to change this code so that it uses, which is what I just did, but don't mind that, but so that it uses this time entry subscription. Context.read.add. Okay, so where do we see that again? Block.context.stream. Okay, we might have something here. So let's see, time entry subscription, listen, time entries, time entry stream controller. Okay, maybe it looks like ChatGPT might have actually listened this time. So let's copy all of it. From what I can tell when I've read through it or skimmed through it really, it seems like it actually did what we want. Save it, try to run it. Okay. Testing 1, and then at test project 1. Start, stop. It did seem like it did something this time. here we go. It's time entry stream controller.stream. So it did actually add that, but why doesn't it update? That's the question. Okay, I think I might know what the problem is. I think I might have figured it out. So in the database helper, when we update something, read project by ID, update project here. When this happens, we want to also fetch and add to stream, because then we will update the stream. So this is where we want to do our updates, but we want to make sure that we future int, okay. So int ID equals that, return ID. Okay, and then here, let's do fetch and add to stream. Let's just see what happens if we add that. I think we need to add it to all of them, but we're just gonna test it. Okay, it's pouring down with rain. I'm gonna just close my door because it's probably pouring in with rain right now. Okay, I'm back. Okay, now let's test it and see what happens. Because now what should happen is as soon as we update anything in the database, or no, basically as soon as we update the project, in this case, in the database, it should add a new event which basically fetches stuff from the database, which should then update our list here. So we're gonna name this Cal, and then we're gonna @Cal, and then we're gonna start, and we're gonna stop, and we have it. Oh, that's so good. So good. It's so satisfying when that happens, when you just like figure it out. Ah, finally. Okay, I don't know, I'm so happy about that, because that, to me, like, there's so many apps that I've built where I haven't bothered doing this stuff. So I have to like delete the app and then go back into it to update the UI. But this is so much cleaner and it looks so much better. What we're gonna do now, we're gonna delete the database, because now we just have so many time entries that we don't need. So database helper, and here we can delete the database. Okay, run it, and that should probably break it, and then we'll comment it out and then run it again, and now we have nothing. So now let's just try this. Task, and then project, and then tag, and start, and stop. And it updates straight away. It's so cool. I love that. Okay, now I'm going to just answer some questions, and we can have a nicer background as I do that. Again, AI generated this image, same as the waiting for the stream to start. Yeah. Okay. Is using ChatGPT lazy though, or just more efficient than scrolling Google? I would say that it's more efficient than scrolling Google. I don't think it's lazy. I think you can definitely consider it lazy, I think, because, and it's sort of, I think it kind of comes off as being lazy, and maybe it is lazy, but to me, it's like, why wouldn't you want to be lazy? You want to get to actually like having a product or something. Like if you're coding something, you're not just coding to code, you're coding to create something. So it feels like if I can use ChatGPT to help me get to an actual product or something that's actually finished faster, then I'm going to use that as much as I can, because otherwise I'm basically just sitting doing something slower just to do it slower. Now it wouldn't make sense maybe if you're applying for a job, or if you need to like do certain things, because there's definitely stuff that I would not learn. Like some of these things I'm copying code and I'm pasting it in, and to some degree I think that I will miss out on certain things, so I won't understand it as deeply. Like what we just fixed with this app, I won't understand that as deeply as I would if I had to maybe read documentation and things like that. But the thing is that I haven't really read documentation much in my entire like career of being a programmer. And so to me, it feels like one of those things where it's the better way to learn, I think, is to actually build a lot of things. And if I can run into this issue that we just had and get some input from ChatGPT that helps me to actually build it, even though I don't understand that thing properly, there will be less time from me running into this error today. I don't know how to explain this, but like the time span from me running into this error today and the next time that I'll run into it, like the time span between those two will be shorter if I use ChatGPT. And so that means I will run into that error more frequently maybe. And I think the frequency of running into these errors is also part of helping you to learn, if that makes sense. So next time I might understand or might realize that, okay, when I update the database, for instance, I need to also do update the stream. And that to me will be, I don't know if this, I feel like I get lost as I'm talking about it, but like, to me, it just feels like I can make more things faster using ChatGPT. And so whatever I lose as I'm building one thing, I will kind of gain by the fact that I can build multiple things. That's how I'm thinking about it. Okay, so Dart or Python in 2024? It's, I don't know, it's a question that I don't want to say it doesn't make sense, because it's a good question if you don't know, but Dart and Python are just two very different things. Like, it's both are programming languages, but you wouldn't really use Dart for anything else that I know of, other than for building apps. And in 2024, you wouldn't really use Python to build apps. But if you're thinking about like which language to learn, then it just depends on like what you want to build or what you want to work with. Simulator trampoline. I don't know what that is, but let's not allow that. I'm kind of conflicted about ChatGPT. It almost never helps me out. That is also the problem. I don't know, maybe the ChatGPT 4 is better, but there is definitely some degree where I think it's more efficient, but you have to learn how to use ChatGPT. Like today, I haven't used ChatGPT very efficiently at all. Like, it's been very inefficient because I've just copied large pieces of code and pasted it in and just asked it, fix this, which it's usually not that great at. What it's better at is like if you have this thing where you know that you need to create a for loop for something, or you know you need to create a certain method, and you're just like, oh, I can't be bothered writing this out myself. And then you just go to ChatGPT and just ask it to build it. Like, for instance, in the last video that I posted, I needed to get a chart built or created by ChatGPT, or for the app that I was building. And instead of me just spending a ton of time like understanding how to use matplotlib in this case for Python, and understanding how to display that to the screen, how to work with all of the different details, I could just ask ChatGPT, could you make a chart in Python for these variables? And it just does that for me, and I don't have to think about it. And that, I might think about that differently if I was trying to learn how to build that in Python. But I don't personally think that I'm gonna be diving into, or anytime soon, like going into building UI applications with Python. So for me, it's not really relevant. I don't really want to learn that. So it makes sense to just ask ChatGPT, do this for me, and then I get it done. And then I can also read through it, and I will learn something by just like looking at it. So yeah, to me, it makes sense. Okay, hold on, please. Where can I get the wallpaper? The wallpaper is AI generated. I can share it somewhere, but yeah, I can share it somewhere. I don't know where to put it, but I'll make sure to share that somehow. I'll write it down actually in my to-do list so that I don't forget it. Share wallpaper. Okay. How much hours of coding do you spend in a day? It varies a lot. Like, depending on how you look at this day, it's going to be 4 hours. But I try to, when I'm coding, I try to do like a 6-hour session, ideally from 6 a.m. till 12 p.m. But it depends. Like sometimes I don't sleep good. Like last night I didn't sleep good because I was so excited about like live streaming and setting all this up. So I almost didn't sleep last night, which kind of makes me feel like maybe I should sleep a little bit longer in the morning. So I did sleep in a little bit today. Would you consider something like Flutter Flow to speed up your Flutter development, or have you tried it out yet? No, I haven't tried out Flutter Flow. I don't know what it is. Flutter Flow. Modern apps. Ah, okay. It's like a drag and drop thing. I don't know if I would. I mean, maybe it works. It's just, I feel like there's, I mean, it works for websites. I don't think I've thought about it enough to know why it works for websites, but it doesn't really work for apps. But I think the thing that I want when I'm building apps is the ability or the freedom to kind of choose whatever I want. And I feel like that would not really be possible with a drag and drop thing. But I think this definitely has use cases, because like for my website, I'm using WordPress, which I'm using like a drag and drop editor to create my website. So for apps that are similar to that, which I can't think of right now, but for apps that would work with that, I guess it would work. But I'll look into it a little bit more maybe, but I don't know. I don't feel like doing it. I don't feel like I want to be programming like this. I don't really like the workflow of this. I feel like there's something about like coding and actually writing it out and testing it like this. And even if you run into errors and it's like difficult, I feel like I like it more. Okay, more questions. Is Gemini better at coding questions? I want to look into like the text editors, like AI text editors, to see like which ones are best, because maybe that would be better than using ChatGPT. Yeah, so I haven't looked into it properly, but I want to look into it. What OS do you use right now? Mac OS. Okay, might be too personal of a question, but are you currently working a full-time job? If yes, are you working as a programmer? So I don't think that's too personal of a question. And I've been seeing this a lot, like lots of people are like, what do you even do for a living? How do you support yourself? So all I do is YouTube. Like that's the only thing that I do to make money. And that's been my main source of income since like 2019. And at this time, I don't really need to do anything else. So that's why I don't, like, if I wanted to, I could probably start like applying to jobs in programming and maybe get a job there somehow. Now I'm not a great programmer, so that I feel like I would probably have to take something that was less pay and then like kind of work my way up. I'm kind of good, like I feel like what I do is like I come up with ideas. Like I feel like I'm relatively good at coming up with ideas for projects, but I'm not actually that good at coding it and building it, but I'm sort of good at just like brute forcing my way through it and kind of getting something up and running and something built. So I'm not like an expert at Python, but I've used Python a lot. I'm not an expert at Flutter or Dart, but I've used it a lot. And I'm not an expert at Java, but I've used that quite a bit as well. And I just feel like I'm kind of good at coming up with ideas, and YouTube kind of allows me to pursue those ideas and build it out, which I also think is more attractive to me than working in an office somewhere for someone else doing something that they want me to do. But at the same time, there's parts of this job where you just, like, I don't have any colleagues, for instance. That's something that is kind of a negative, because when you work in an office, you go there and you have people around you that you interact with throughout the day, whereas I'm working on my own constantly. So that's a real negative to it, which also kind of makes me think maybe working in an office would be kind of nice. You stream only on YouTube or also other platforms? No, only on YouTube right now, but this is the first stream, so this is just a test run. You sound Swedish, correct me if I'm wrong. I am Swedish. Hey man, just wanted to let you know to keep up the good work. I really like your style videos and the chill vibe. Thank you. Okay, maybe I should stop procrastinating now and stop answering questions and just like continue working on the app. Okay, so this now works. Now the next part that we need to fix is we need to fix whatever happened here. I don't know. Task, project, test. Okay, so we need to fix the fact that if you just keep pressing stop, it will just continue to add things to the database. And we also need to do this. Okay, remove print statement. And read all projects, read all tasks. So we need to add the method here, this thing. We need to add that to all of these methods. ID. int id equals this. Oh, okay. Okay, so now we've changed this so that it will update the stream every time we press, every time we add something new. Okay. So now let's fix the bug. Also, if anyone watched the video that I posted on Friday, let me know if you think that's a good idea. Like, I'm very interested to see if anyone thinks, if people that aren't YouTubers still think that that was a good idea, or if you even got the idea. I feel like it was kind of hard to get the idea to come across in the video, because it was kind of, I felt like it was complex and it was difficult to know like how deeply to dive into it and how what I should share and what I should what wasn't really relevant for the video. So let me know if you understood the idea, and I'll check the chat, and also let me know if you think it's a good idea for an app, because to me at least, I think it's a really good idea, and I will be building it even if you don't think it's a good idea, but it would just be interesting to see if other people understood it. So Ludde said that you could check if the task name is already existing in the database, and if so, not add it. That's one way to do it, but I think I can't use that way, because there will be, I want there to be, like, you should be able to add the same project multiple times, so the name in the database will already exist and there will be multiple entries in the database, which means that that would be a really good way to just simply check against that. But I think we need to do something like maybe use the date, or I don't know. I'm not really sure actually. So this is where we stop, and this is where we need to make sure that we check this somehow. Maybe So I have one idea, which is that if we check the time. Okay, so when this is pressed, so this is where we start the time entry. So this is, okay, this is my idea. G-Pulse, I'm happy that you liked the outro. I was really happy when I came up with that little joke, and I thought it was really funny. Okay, so again, I'm not used to streaming, so my ability to read the chat focus on programming, talk to the camera, do all these things at the same time is not very good. But here is where we start a time entry. So essentially a date will start here. So the start time will start. And so we can actually do something here, I think. So when we press start in the app, when we press the play button here, it will start counting the time. And then when we press stop, it will stop the time. But if we press stop again, it will re-add what we already added to the database. But I'm thinking one way to fix this whole problem is that when we press stop, we can check if a time entry has already been added to the database that has the same start time. Because if it has the same start time, then we don't need to add it again. So essentially we need to keep track of the start time. So here when we stop the time entry, time ID, okay. So Andrew says, can't you just assign an ID to each of them, each item, and then check against the IDs? And that is, you don't need to say that you're sorry, you don't know exactly what I'm trying to do, because that's a really good suggestion. But the thing is, maybe that will work. Maybe, I'm not sure if the start time is the way to go, if the ID is the way to go. Because we're going to get an ID back here. Maybe we can create some sort of global variable, but the problem is that we don't want... Do we want a global variable? I don't know if we want that. Because we could have like a global variable that is the ID of whatever we've added to the database. And then we keep track of that ID and make sure that if... Wait, no. Does that work? I'm not sure if that will work, because even if we keep track of that ID, okay, I think the start time is going to be the way to go with this. Stop. Okay, stop time entry. So there's one solution that could be like date time, set, wait, time is set, let's say, and then it just equals null. Null, I don't know how they do it in. Time is set. Okay, So if this is equal to null, then we want to add something to the database. So if time is set, if not time is set, if time is set is equal to null, let's say. The operand can't be null, so the condition is always false. So I could check if the So I could add some sort of like if or a boolean to the stop button so that we can see like if it has been pressed before. But the thing is that like maybe someone will open up this thing, and the first thing that will do is they will press stop before they've pressed start. That could be possible. Now you could again kind of fix that by making it not pressable until the start button has been pressed. But then I feel like we're adding so many different things. I don't know what the best way would be to do this. Disable the button after it's clicked. Yeah, you could actually maybe disable the button after it's clicked. But then, yeah, maybe that is a bug that could stay in the app. Because I'm thinking like if we disable the button after it's been clicked, then what if there's a case where we want to be able to click it again? Like, what if there's a case where the user starts a task and then stops it, and then, so basically, what if there's a case where the user presses start and then presses stop, but then doesn't click away from this thing and just goes to have lunch or something and then comes back and presses start again and then presses stop? But maybe we could have it be conditional so that you can't press stop unless you press start, and you can't press stop again unless, wait. You can't press start, you can't press, wait. We could make it so that maybe the either button can't be pressed unless the previous button has been pressed. Okay, I think that's a good idea. That's the best idea that I can think of. Or not I, because you were the one who thought of it, Andrew. Okay, find the stop button. Stop. Here's the stop button. If start time does not equal end time.now. Okay, I think I need to just grab some oranges and have a snack. Because I feel like I'm dipping. My energy levels aren't where they should be, so. I can't think clearly. stop the time entry. So should we use just an if statement here, or create two booleans? Like one is bool if, okay, stop was pressed equals false, bool start was pressed equals false. Okay, so when start is pressed, then start was pressed is equals to true. So then if start was pressed, then do this. So now if start has been pressed, then we can press stop. And then stop was pressed is equal to true. And not. This is the thing when you switch between Python and when you switch between programming languages. I'm not really sure if this is how you do it in Python or in Dart, but I think this is the way. So if start was pressed and stop hasn't been pressed, then stop was pressed is equal to true. And in that case, we go into this method. So now let's save this and see if it works. Actually, let's delete the database just so that we can see what's happening. Okay. And let's add task, project, tag. And let's start. Wait for a little bit. And then press stop. Okay, so here's the real test. If we press stop again, we'll add another task up in this list. Okay, it doesn't do that. But now if we add tag 1, project 1, task 1, start it. I'm gonna add some sort of feedback that shows that we've actually pressed start, but for now we press start and then we press stop. Okay, so it doesn't seem to change that, which it doesn't do because so this is the thing about if statements, like there's something somewhere here, there's something I need to change. Okay, so if start was pressed is equal to true. Oh yeah, okay. So we actually just need, I think, stop was pressed equals false. So as soon as we press the start button, stop was pressed enters false. And is there a time when we don't want to be able to press the start button? Yeah, if we've already pressed the start button. If start not, yeah, if start was pressed, if not start was pressed, then, so if the start button hasn't been pressed, then we want a new start time to start. Okay, and then so if start time was not pressed, and then start time was pressed equals true. Okay, I'm getting confused now. Like I'm a little bit tired, and I'm trying to think of like where in all this do I need to set it to be false or to be true. But stop was pressed is false. That's how it starts. And if start was not pressed, so if start hasn't been pressed, then we will set a new start time, and we'll also set start was pressed to be equal to true, which means that if we press the start button again after we've pressed it, then we won't get into this method. And then here, if start was pressed is true, which it is after we press the button here, then we'll get into this method. And if also stop hasn't been pressed yet, so if we get in here, then stop was pressed is equal to true, and start was pressed is equal to false. Where do we set start was pressed is equal to false? Okay, start was pressed is equal to false. Where do we set stop was pressed to be equal to true? Stop was pressed is equal to true, there. And then on press, stop was pressed is equal to false. Should we really set that there? I don't know. I think we should press it, set it here. So here, if stop was pressed, or if start hasn't been pressed, then stop was pressed is equal to false, and start was pressed is equal to true, and start time starts. This means that we won't be able to press start again unless we get into this, unless we press stop, because then if start has been pressed, which it has been if we've pressed it, and stop is false, which it is if we've gotten in there. I think this should work. It's difficult to explain, I feel like, but we'll try it. Task 2 and project 2 and tag 2. Press start, and then we'll press stop. Press stop again, nothing happens. Press start, and then press stop. So that works. That means that we fixed that bug, I think. And because that is a feature, I think that's what you should be able to do, because you should be able to start the time for a task and then stop it, and that will be a time entry. And then you should be able to not have to get out of this thing in case you want to just start another time entry, because maybe you have a phone call and you just want to pause the, essentially this is a pause function, maybe, I don't know. for now, this is good enough, I think. Now the question is, should we continue building this thing out? Right now we're close to having this page finished. I think something that I've done is I've created buttons up here, so you should be able to, wait, if we run it again, as you can see, you get like the first task here, and then you get the task 2 there, and up here we have the first task, and then we have task 2 and task 2. And the idea is that you can then press task 2, and it should already have added task 2 here. But right now it doesn't do that. It actually adds it here. Okay, so I'm just gonna have to finish this orange. I see lots of people talking about my yacht, which is, I always think it's funny when people say yacht about a sailboat, because it's just like a to me it's just this tiny little thing, and to me a yacht is like this, I don't know, big luxury item, which I don't really consider mine one, but I guess like people say that, and they say yachties and things for people with sailboats. So yeah, I guess I have a yacht. So the discussion about the yacht versus sailboat, I'm pretty sure that like, because I've been watching these sailors on YouTube. I think one channel is the Sailing La Vagabond, and they have just they used to have a different sailboat. Now they have something that I would probably say would be categorized as a yacht, but I think they used to call their boat when they just had a more normal sailboat, they would call that a yacht too. I think it's different definitions in different places maybe as well, because I think in Sweden if you say a yacht to someone else here, because there is a word for that in Swedish as well, which is pretty much the same as yacht, and when you say that, people think probably a motorboat, and like a really big one. That's what a yacht is. But I think in the US or maybe abroad, a yacht can be just a boat, or a boat that you can live on maybe? Not sure. Either way, task 2. I'm tired, so I'm like not sure where to start with this, but we have this list here. Is this fine? Is this good enough? Because now what can you do? You can add a task, and you can save it, and it will be stored here, which is the base principle of it. Okay, actually let's open up the Adobe XD, and we can see what the app should look like. Okay, so this is like the full idea of the app, as far as I've gotten with it. So the idea would be to get analytics, because actually maybe I should explain what the app is. I don't know how, if people like know what I'm even building at this point, or if you guys know what I'm building, but it's a time tracking app. And what I do personally is I set alarms on my phone. So I don't know if you will be able to see this, but I can open up my alarm so you can see. Like I set a 4-hour alarm a couple, like when I started this stream, I set a 4-hour alarm, and this is just a 4-hour timer. And this is something I do constantly. I've been doing this now for a really long time. And so anytime I need to work on something, I decide like, okay, how long do I have? I have until this time, and then I'll set a timer. And the thing that's really good about it for me is that I can see how much time is left and I can see it count down. So I will basically do that throughout the day, and I'll set timers for however long I'm going to be sitting for. But the problem with that is that I just have these times and I don't have any idea of like how long have I sat or how long have I worked this week. So it would be really good to get just an overview of like how much time I spend working on things. And I know there are time tracking apps out there, but I spent like an entire day just looking for time tracking app after time tracking app at the top time tracking app, and just like going through all of them and trying to find one that was able to do what I wanted, which is hard to explain, but it's not anything more than just I wanted freedom to be able to add tasks in whatever way that I wanted and name them whatever I wanted, and combine, like connect different tasks to each other, and like then be able to see statistics for those tasks, if that makes sense. So let's say that I'm coding on a specific app, then maybe coding will be a task, but maybe I'm coding on like 3 apps at once. So the other apps, all the other apps that I found, the only things that they allowed was like you could only see one task, I think. You could only see how much time you spent coding. So you weren't able to distinguish between like, okay, how much time was I coding on this app versus this app versus this app. You were only able to see the bulk task called coding. So what I wanted is basically the ability to see or to filter my time worked by whatever metric that I wanted. So let's say that I want to see how much time I've spent coding this week, then I can see all of my total hours spent coding. And then if I wanted to see how much time I spent coding on a specific app, then I could just see how much time I spent on that app. And if I wanted to see maybe how much time I spent coding on these 2 apps, then I could see that. So that's basically the idea. And that's because I keep doing these time tracking things by just setting timers in my phone, but that doesn't actually track how much time I've spent. It just is a good way for me to be productive, if that makes sense. So and this is what I wanted, or this is how I envision kind of what that will look like when you go into the analytics part of this app, which is basically the bulk of what the app is going to be, or what the use of the app is going to be. Because I want the app to be able to allow me to create timers or set timers, but then I wanted to track those timers for me, so that I can then see it in an analytics page like this, where you can then see like how many hours you worked, what your weekly goal is. Maybe you can set that, or you can see a breakdown like this. You can change like the granularity, I think that's what it's called, for how you're looking at it. Maybe you want to see how much you worked this day and what the breakdown is for the day, maybe for the week, month, year, etc. And then you get like a graph or a bar chart like this, where you can see the breakdown, which I always like being able to see charts of things. So to me, this is something that would be really exciting. And it's kind of good to also understand. I think it's good to learn how long things take. So the better I can get at understanding, like, okay, if I want to build this feature of an app, then the better I can get at actually knowing how long will that take, the better I can kind of set up my days, essentially, because I can know like, okay, I'm going to be working on this thing today. That will probably take me 3 hours to do. Whereas now I'm not necessarily sure of how long things will take. And also for video editing, like it would be interesting to know like exactly how much time I spent editing. And another thing to this, which I think is would be cool, would be to track the time spent on building apps for the YouTube channel. So let's say when I start working on the next app, I can actually track all the time for it, so that I can then document that and add that into my videos as well, like as a component, so that you can see then like, okay, he spent let's say 20 hours this week working on the app, or the next week he spent 40 hours working on it. And then once the app is actually finished, you can see like, okay, this took him 200 hours to do, which I think is also useful from the perspective of like the viewer's perspective, because I think it's sometimes difficult to understand of like how long is he actually spending on this. And I think for some people it can be sort of demotivating to see a video where I fast forward through the programming, like I do something and it makes it seem like I'm really fast and I'm doing it super easily, where the reality is actually that I've spent maybe hundreds of hours for just one video. And yeah, I think it would just be an interesting thing, and it's also a way for me to get back into building apps again. And I felt like it was like as good a place as any to start for me. So that's the idea. But now let's see. So this is what I want the app to look like on the front page. Maybe we can have them next to each other so we can see the difference, or what I still need to do. So this is what the app looks like right now, and this is where we want to get to. So we want to have a title up here for the days, so that we know that, okay, this is what we worked on today, and then we get a list for that. And this is what we worked on yesterday. And then this is what this little thing here should look like. Now, this almost looks exactly the way that it's supposed to look. So there's not really much that we need to do. Okay, so I'm just kind of pondering or thinking about, like, should I start with this thing? Should I start building that out? Okay, I think we'll start building that out. Let's add that to a different desktop. Okay. So let's figure out how it works or how to do it. One. I just want to see if this is... Okay, so this is the widget. Now we need to figure out how to make it fill this screen properly, because right now it's just in the middle there. Expanded container. Hello. Okay, so it gets added there because it's a row, but that's good to know. So we need to wrap this in a widget. Wrap this with a column. And then do container. Child. Text. I'm just right now trying to figure out where everything ends up once I add it on the screen. Okay, so now it ends up on the top there. But this stuff is on the bottom. Because it seems like these buttons here are not okay. I'm a little bit unsure of why, because right now this shows up, this text field here shows up on top of this text field. And I'm not really sure why that is. So I'm trying to figure that out. Okay, we're just gonna see what this does. Okay. Where did they come from? Start and stop. Okay, I'm not really sure because like we have the buttons here, they basically just come with us when we pull this up, or it's essentially I have so much code here and it's kind of hard to even keep track of all of it, because I need to break this out into separate widgets or separate files so that it can be a little bit cleaner and easier to manage. But right now I'm not sure what needs to stay and where it should go and all that stuff, so I need to figure it out. Okay, now I'm basically just going kind of crazy here, so I'm not sure if this is most likely gonna break everything apart, but we'll see what happens. Okay. Seems like it did. But why does it do it? Fuck. Task input widget. Okay, it's not used, so that should be the reason why. But if we copy all of this, and then we just go back to where we started. Okay, now we're back. And now let's see. Okay, we still have it. Okay, we're making something that's at least getting close now to looking the way that the design looks. So this is the design. And now we can get to designing this to make it look the way that it should. Now I'm not really sure if this is the best way, but this is going to be good enough for an MVP. And so I'm going to do it. Okay. How do you change the size of a field in Flutter? Okay, we're gonna use this. Okay. Adjust the flex to change the width ratio of the flex. What if we remove this? Okay, that seems to have worked. Layout builder, okay. So what is the layout builder? Layout builder, Flutter. Okay, I might have to look into that at some other point. Okay, width 100. Okay, nice. 5. Okay, nice. Now that looks a little bit better. We can't see all the text here, but that I think should be fine. Tip from William Davis. Define media query width and height at the top of your build function. That will save a lot of line space. That's a really good idea, actually. That's a really good idea. Height. I don't know if that's a double, but height. Query. Oh. Dot off. Dot size. Dot height. And double width equal media. Width. Okay, now that at least looks a little bit better, let's just see that it still works. So task, test, tags, start, stop, works, start, stop, also works. Okay. Oh, good job. How long have we been live for? I don't know if I can see that somewhere. Okay, maybe I shouldn't do this here. I can actually just remember that I started around 12:30. So that's 12:30, 1:30, 2:30, 3:30, 3 hours. Okay, so I'm actually like dead freaking tired. And I'm thinking maybe I should stop the stream here and then come back tomorrow. My thinking is that with this setup now I can stream a little bit easier, maybe. I hope that this setup is good for that. And I can come back tomorrow and I can stream again, and yeah, whenever I have time to, and hopefully make a little bit more progress. I was really tired today, like as I'm sitting here right now, I'm about to fall asleep, I feel like, so my ability to focus and like concentrate on what I've been doing has not been great, and I feel like I just need to think a lot harder than normal, and that is not to say to make it seem like I'm way better usually. It's not about that, it's just that I mean to say that I'm dead tired right now, and I feel like I should probably stop and come back tomorrow and feel a little bit more refreshed, because it's been a lot of work just trying to set the stream up and figuring out like how do I want everything to work, and yeah. So what I'm thinking is I can answer some questions if you have any questions that you want to ask before I leave, and then I'll get out and maybe actually take a nap or meditate. So let me know if you have any questions, and I'll go through the chat now a little bit and see if I can answer them. Why use Flutter over Android Studio? I guess that's just like, Flutter is actually, what would you call Flutter? It's like a framework to build apps, and Android Studio is an editor for building apps. So it's two different things. I think Android Studio is not. Wait, is it two different things? Now I just like got confused. Because Android Studio is not a framework, right? But I don't remember what the framework is for Android development. Framework for React Native is most commonly used for creating custom applications with. Okay, but what? Oh yeah, because I feel like that's what I thought. Okay, anyway. I just wanted to know that. So Java is what's used for Android development, and Android Studio is actually just an editor or an IDE, really. What program are you using to preview the code on iOS? Does it work on Windows? So I'm using Xcode to preview the code in the app, and that doesn't work on Windows. So you have to, if you're working with Flutter, you can use Android Studio and use an emulator in Android Studio, and you'll get the same thing. You won't get an iPhone app or an iPhone phone, but you'll get the Android phone, and it should look the same on an iPhone. Where did you work before? Where do you work now? I haven't worked anywhere before. Okay, maybe. So I was talking about this before, but I haven't actually had a job, or I have had two jobs as a programmer, but it was one for like a little startup that was right at the start as my YouTube channel was taking off. I got a little job as a Flutter developer actually for a startup, but I wasn't great. I'm still not great at app development, so it's not like something I did a lot of. And now I'm only a YouTuber, or that is what I am. Why aren't you developing in Xcode using Swift UI? So the reason that I'm not developing in Xcode is because I want to be able to build for both platforms at once. I don't want to just build for iOS. I want to build for iOS and Android. And so building in Xcode and using Swift is not very efficient in my opinion. I have done that before. I built apps in Xcode and I built apps in Android Studio or Android for Android, but to me it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to be building it that way, because then you just basically have to duplicate the code all the time, and it's just double the amount of work. I was looking to create an app. What tips can you give me to get started? Should I use Flutter, Kotlin? I will choose one to study. Kotlin, Kotlin is a language. So what I would do is what I'm doing, which is using Flutter. And you could, I think that if you want to consider starting to develop apps, then you should look at I don't remember what this is called, a cross-platform framework maybe is what it's called, but something like Flutter or React Native, where you can build apps for both platforms, both iOS and Android at the same time. That would be what I would look into, because it just doesn't make sense to work on one app once and then duplicate the code for another app. I don't think it makes sense. So what I would do is if you think that you want to get into like web development and build websites and things like that, I think React Native is the way to go, because that way you can build proper web applications and you can also build apps for phones. I have this belief that Flutter is probably a little bit better for the apps, but not quite as good when it comes to web development, and vice versa for React Native. I think React Native is better when it comes to app or web development, but not quite as good when it comes to running on devices as apps. Because from what I understand, React Native is essentially just a web page converted to look like an app, or to work like an app, or to be available in the App Store, which maybe works a lot better today than it did when I started using Flutter. But Flutter, I guess it converts the code to native code somehow, and works in that way, which I think is better. But it's only better if you already are familiar with Flutter, or if you're already familiar with that sort of stuff. And if you have some familiarity with web development, so if you worked with HTML and CSS and stuff like that, then 100% go with React Native, because it's just going to be way easier for you. You're going to understand it way better. But if you haven't done that, then I might still go with React Native, because if you think that you might at some point want to build websites, then again, React Native is the way to go. But if you feel like the only thing that you want to build is apps, or if you feel like, I don't know, intimidated by HTML and CSS, then work with Flutter, I think. Honestly, if I could retrain myself, I would have chosen React Native at this point, I think. Depending again on how it runs on devices, which I don't really know. I don't have experience with it, so I don't know if it runs as well as Flutter apps. But I think if I would retrain myself, I would have retrained to learn React Native. How about a devlog series where you build a Flutter cross-platform app? Well, that's what I've been doing on my YouTube channel. So I have this series. If we go to my channel, I have a series here where this is day 1, this is day 2, day 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I have 9 days so far, and again, I'm not sure how I'm going to use or implement or connect these live streams into these videos, but somehow I'm going to try to turn this into these videos as well. So I'm not just live streaming, but I'm also connecting it or making some sort of proper videos as well. At least that's the idea. What languages or frameworks do I know? It depends. It depends on what you. It depends on how you define know. I don't really. I don't know. Do I know Flutter? Do I know Dart? I'm not sure. I have to Google a lot of things, and I feel like I understand I've built relatively complex apps in my days, so I understand what needs to be done, but I don't know that I would say that I actually know Dart, because I have to Google things. Like sometimes I have to Google like how to do a for loop in a language that I'm programming in, because I switch so much between like different programming languages that sometimes I forget the specifics of the language that I'm working in. So I kind of understand the higher level view of like, this is what needs to be done, but then I don't necessarily always remember the specifics of like, this is how you do that in Java, or this is how you do that in Python or Dart. But I've worked with C#, I've worked with Java, I've worked with Python, I've worked with Dart, I've worked with JavaScript, I've worked with I don't know, I feel like I've worked with more languages as well, but those are like the ones that I've worked with. And Java, Dart and Python are the ones that I've worked with the most, where I think Python is the one that I've worked with the absolute most, I think. But you can look through my channel and you can probably tell, like, mostly what's on my channel is where I've put my time into. So I don't know, maybe I've worked more with Flutter, or maybe I've worked more with Python. I'm not really sure. And how long have I been coding today? I've been coding for 3 hours now. Like, coding, if that's what I've been doing. How about a gym plus skincare routine vlog? My skincare routine is almost nothing. When I wash my hair with shampoo, I sometimes use the shampoo and just like rub my face to clean it off. I do have some sort of like face wash that I use every now and then, but mostly I don't do anything like that. And gym routine is something that I'm thinking I'll write down, like my gym routine, and then I'll post it somewhere for free so that people can see if they're interested. I'm a shampoo face guy too. That's good, Mark. We're on the same page. Any tip for freshers who are looking for a remote developer job? I'm not really sure. I don't know how you go about getting a remote developer job. I think I don't know, I guess I'd go to like either my local like job listings page and just see if there are remote jobs available, and then I'd see what they require, and then I'd try to make sure that I have what they require, and then I'd try to apply for those jobs. That's like what I would do. I don't really know any other way to get remote developer jobs. Plus I guess both the jobs that I've had have been remote developer jobs, but they've basically just come about because one of them just came about because of the YouTube channel, because they contacted me through that. And the other job was just one that I think most developer jobs can be remote if that's what you want. So yeah, but I'm probably the wrong person to answer that question. Would you consider open sourcing your project, making it available to other contributors? I remember checking out your old projects on GitHub. I would definitely consider open sourcing this. The only reason that I haven't is I did open source the exercise workout tracking app that I was doing a couple of years ago. I did open source that, but what happened was that there was and this is a luxury problem to have, but there was too many people that were contributing to it. So, and the people that were contributing to it were way better than I am at programming. So they were like, or you guys, I guess, were giving me things and like helping me make it way better, and applying frameworks and structure to the whole project that it got to a point where I basically didn't understand the code myself. I wasn't able to work with it because it was so like, it was structured in a way where I didn't really have time to kind of focus enough to actually understand what was being changed. And so what I ended up doing was I ended up having to add some of the contributors that were like the best contributors, and I had to add them as people that could then check the code for me. So then it ended up being this thing where I was unable to even check if the code was good that people apply or contributed. So other people were checking if that code was good. And then as I was like, because I was also filming this and documenting the whole thing, it kind of became this thing where I would just open up, like the videos became me just opening up GitHub and checking for different issues, seeing what people like commented about for different bugs. And it was just like, that was all that I was doing. I wasn't coding anything because I was just looking at GitHub and like trying to answer comments and merge issues and figure out what I needed to do. So I became sort of like this manager of a project, which wasn't necessarily the position that I wanted to be in. I like coding and I like doing that stuff. I don't necessarily like managing a project, especially since I didn't understand the details of it. So, and then it just became this thing where it's like, if I felt like I couldn't really contribute to my own project because I felt like what I was adding was probably just, I don't know if I felt like what I was adding was making it worse, but it was just this thing where I didn't understand how or where to add the code that I wanted to add. So it was just this kind of catch-22 where I felt like I couldn't do anything. I couldn't actually code. The only thing I could do was just review code from other people, which I think is probably one of the more boring parts of programming, in my opinion. I don't really like reviewing my own code, never really have, so yeah. But it is also kind of a life hack, but like for me, since I have the YouTube channel, I have a community of people who are even considering like helping me out. Like it was so crazy to see how many people were interested enough and had the time or like took the time to contribute to my project. And it was just this thing where I don't really know how to explain it, but it's like where I didn't really feel like I deserved the help that I was getting, because I felt like other people were putting more work and effort into my project than I was putting into it, and other people had better ideas for the project in terms of like structure than what I had. So it was just, I don't know, it was difficult to keep track of it. I think there is a way to do it where I could actually manage it and I could make it work, but I'm not really sure how, because it's apparently lots of people like contributing to this stuff, which is incredible and unreasonably nice of them, but it does make it a little bit hard to figure out how I actually fit into that whole thing. Okay, I'm thinking I should probably call it a day here. have a rest, and then go play mini golf is what I'm gonna do. But I'm reading your comments here, and I'm reading and I'm seeing your chat and all the positive feedback about you really liking the content that I'm producing. So I'm genuinely, like, that really means a lot to me to hear that. And especially like the last video that I posted, I put so much effort into that one. So it's really nice to see that you guys really liked it. And I do read every single comment that comes out on my channel. So if you do comment something, I will have read that. I may not have time to reply to everything, but I try to reply to most of it, or as much as I can. And if I don't reply to it, you can know that I have read it, because I do see it. It's just sometimes it takes quite a while to reply to these comments, and I want to reply properly. I don't want to just reply with like, oh, thanks. Because I feel like even though that maybe that is good, I don't know if you'd like me to do that, but I feel like I want to put, if I'm going to reply to someone, I want to put a little bit more effort into it and like actually express like thank you, and I don't know, come with some sort of something other than just thanks. So that's the idea. Anyway, I think I'm going to be back tomorrow with another live. So yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'm not sure when, but I'll try to set up some sort of scheduling for it whenever I can. I'll also upload my wallpaper somewhere, and I'll share it on my Instagram if you want it. All right, I'm gonna call it a day here. But thank you so much for watching this stream, and I hope I'll see you tomorrow.